this is Paul Price and welcome to Retire Rich with Real Estate. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about evictions, how to handle them, and hopefully how to avoid them. They are an inevitability. If you do rental properties, you're going to have evictions. And you're going to have people who don't pay and they break the leases and all that kind of stuff is going to happen. So here's how I handle those situations. Now, one of the best things you can do before I get started here, I want to tell you, you need to go to your local state website and look up the laws regarding evictions and things like that in your area, or seek an attorney's advice. I'm not giving legal advice here. I'm not an attorney, but I think you should know the laws if you're going to rent, and you should know, the laws. The Tenant Landlord Act will tell you, like in Tennessee here, tells you how long you have to wait before you can charge a late fee, how long you have to wait from the time you give them notice before you can go file an eviction, and the whole process is kind of laid out in there, what's allowed and what's not allowed. So you should, review that information first. But once you've done that, you need to lay out a process based on your laws and your situation that you follow for everybody every month. And, we in Tennessee, we have a law that says you have to give a 5-day grace period. So I cannot charge any late fees until the 5th day. And the maximum amount I can charge is 10% of the unpaid balance. So that's exactly what we do. On the 5th day, actually our system is set up to do it on the 7th day because it doesn't count for holidays and Sundays. So if we do it on the 7th, if there's a holiday or a Sunday that falls in there, it makes sure it's counted so that it works. But on the 7th day of the month, our computer system will automatically charge 10% of the unpaid balance as a late fee to the unpaid balance of the tenant that is not paid. So if you do this every month, and on the 10th day of the month, if I've still not received a payment, I will go ahead and mail out a pay or quit notice. And I will tell them, hey, you've got X number of days to pay, or you need to leave the property. If they choose not to follow that and pay that, or even get back to me, then at that point I will go forward and follow through and do an eviction, which is called a detainer warrant, and go from there. Legally, that's how you should have your process set up. On the first day of the month, you say, hey, your rent's due. On the 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever day, you charge the late fee. The 10th day, you do this. The 15th day, you do this. Whatever it is, you have a set plan that you do every month, and you do it for everybody so that you're fair and equal amongst your tenants. Now, my whole goal is to avoid going to court and doing a court order eviction. And so what we do is called cash for keys in a lot of situations. If someone comes to us and they're not paying their rent and they say, hey, I got laid off or have some problems or whatever, we'll try to work with them if we can. If they're not getting too far behind, we may allow them a little bit of leeway. We may waive some late fees and work with them on paying the rent or get caught up. But if someone is not even contacting us and they're avoiding our phone calls and they're not answering the door and they're obviously not trying to pay us, then we're going to go to them and say, hey, look, you've got to pay us or leave. And if they refuse to do that, then we come to them and offer them money to leave. The money, well, where does that come from? Well, part of it's coming from their deposit. In most cases, we have a $500, $600, $700 deposit, and we're going to ask them to leave and tell them that we'll give them $300, $400 if they'll leave, usually in 3 days or 2 days or by the weekend or something like that. We give them time, and we say, look, if you leave, you don't leave any mess behind, you clean the place up, and you don't do any more damage than whatever's been done, we'll give you X number of dollars. But we're not going to give it to you until you're handing the keys back to us and we walk through and everything looks good, we'll hand you the money. A lot of people say, why, the tenants will say, why would you do that? Why are you going to pay me money? Or why would you give me money to leave if I already owe you $600, $700? And I'll simply say, look, it's in our best interest. We're trying to help you out. make it sound like you're helping them out, because you are. I mean, you say, look, you probably need money to move, you need money to pay the deposit where you're going next, you may need money to rent a truck to move your furniture, whatever. We're going to give you a little bit of money, we're going to help you out, but we can't continue to keep you here if you're not going to pay. So if they'll accept that offer, it's going to be much more beneficial to you. And you say, well, if I give them $300 or $400, I'm losing $300 or $400. Well, that's not really true. You're losing your deposit that you got from them. Now, if there's other damages they do, you may end up losing some money. But the best thing is, if you don't have to go to court, you're saving those days of rent that's lost. If you go to court, it can take up to 6, sometimes 8 weeks to get them out, because you've got to go down and swear out a detainer warrant, and it's going to cost you over $100. And then on top of that, you're going to have to wait until they serve the warrant. And those are some of the things that you get into. And depending on what you ask for, that's another thing that you need to know. It can take longer. But if you have to serve the warrant, then you have to wait for the court date to be set, and then you have to go to court. The judge is going to give them another 10 days, and so on and so on. And there's a reason for all this. It's going to take you a lot of time. So if you're renting a place for $600, $700, $800 a month, and it takes you a month to get your property back, you've lost $600, $700, $800. So you're much better off to give up $300 or $400 now, get your place back, and go out and get it rented again, than you are to try to go through the process of going to court. Here, if you go to court, and the length of time it takes to get the service and all that is going to vary based on what you ask for. When you go to fill out a detainer warrant, it says, do you want to get your back rent? If they owe you this month's rent, you can ask for that in the judgment. I don't recommend that here, because if you do that, then the warrant has to be hand delivered to them. And if they don't answer the door, or if they're not home, then the warrant, they just try to come back another day. So it takes longer to get that warrant delivered. If you ask for simple possession, which is one of the other boxes you can check on the form, you say, I just want possession, I don't care about how much they owe me, I just want my property back. Then they can post the warrant on the door, which means they leave it on the door, so when they come home they say, oh, I got a warrant, and they have to show up in court. If they don't show up in court or something like that, then the judgment just goes for you and you move forward. But if they show up in court, here's another thing that happens. The judge, if you ask for money, the back rent and stuff, the judge can say, okay, we need proof and things like that. And the last time I went to court, here's how the judge did it. He asked for all the attorney represented clients first, because they're paying so much an hour to be there. That's understandable. And I didn't have an attorney, so my case was behind theirs. So they went through all the people who had attorneys. Then they called up the cases just as they pull them up. And if they come up there and they said, hey, this guy owes me $700, and he looks at the tenant and he says, do you owe him $700? And the guy says, no. He says, okay, y'all go sit down. We'll bring your case up later. We're going to have a dispute here. If the guy says, yeah, I owe him $700, then he'll just say, okay, you owe him $700, judgment for him, and go on. But if it's going to be a drawn-out situation, the judge postponed it either to that afternoon, or may even schedule it to another day. So you don't want to drag anything out. So if you go up there and you say, hey, I just want simple possession back, I don't care about what they owe me, the judge is going to say, hey, you've not paid your rent, you owe the guy the rent, he says he wants his property back, you've got 10 days. Boom, judgment for the plaintiff. So it goes in my direction, and I always wondered why they gave 10 days. I didn't understand that. I'd always seen every one of them get 10 days. Well, when I was reading the law, it says they have 10 days to appeal. And so if he said, yeah, judgment, you won the judgment, you got to get out in 3 days, if I kick him out, then he has nothing really to appeal, because he's already gone, so it gives them the 10 days to appeal. So the judge is always going to give them 10 days, so that's always going to drag you out another 10 days. Then if they still don't leave, then you have to go back and get a writ of eviction or a writ of possession. When you go back to get the writ of possession, you have to pay another fee, Then the police come out and they will put a note on the door saying that you got to be out, and here's the date and the time. And on that date and time, they come out and they physically take them off the property. At that point, if there's anything left on the property, furniture or anything like that, you have to have somebody there, or yourself have to take all that stuff and put it on the curb legally. And that seems kind of crazy, but when the police come and remove you from the property, they are telling you you cannot come back on the property. If you do, you'll be trespassing, so you have to stay off the property. And so all the possessions that are on the property have to be removed by you as the landlord, or whoever you hire to do it, and put them on the curb. And if they want their stuff, they have 3 days to get it. After 3 days, then you can haul that stuff off and throw it away. That's the law. Now, that gets kind of hairy sometimes, but I've never had that happen where I had to put people's furniture on the curb. Luckily, they've got out. But I have had people put it to the day and have the police come out there and actually, put them out of the house. So, that can happen. That can draw things out a lot. So you're always going to be better off if you can talk your way out of it and get them to leave, whether you pay them to leave or you help them leave. Help them get out, because it's going to benefit you in the long run. It's going to save you a lot of time, money, and headaches if you can give them cash for keys, is what I call. And that's going to be a much better situation. So just keep that in mind, and good luck out there, and I hope this helps you out. If you like this video, please click the subscribe button so you get more. Hit the bell button for notifications, and like it. Give me a thumbs up and help my channel. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with me. Have a great day.